Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my Why You Should Pull Xilonen video. And in this video, I'll basically try to promote Xilonen's upcoming banner by, telling you why you should pull for her and also give you a small little damage showcase. So grab some snacks, sit back and watch me ramble about the best DJ in all of Teyvat, Xilonen. But now, why should you pull for Xilonen and why do I like her so much? Well, the short answer is that she's pretty amazing, but the longer answer is that she's an extremely useful and all-round OP unit to have. I mean, I've gotten countless 5 stars and I usually stop playing them after a while, but I still, even after months from her release, constantly use Xilonen. And it's probably because she can be used for pretty much everything. Exploration, farming, abyss, you name it, she can do it. Xilonen is also super easy to pick up and master, which makes her a great starter unit for new players. Not only is her kit very straightforward, but she also buffs your team, provides healing, and even chips a little bit of damage. You also don't have to memorize any complicated mechanics or team setups to make her work. Just press your E, do some normal attacks, and watch your DPSs burn your enemies to the ground. And now, speaking of her kit, another great thing about Xilonen is that she's one of the few characters that has an emergency healing button. Now first, you might think her heals might not be a lot, but you'd be dead wrong, because a well-built Xilonen is basically a mini statue of the 7. And if you're someone who plays a lot of co-op, this can be a very handy thing to have, because with her burst, she heals everyone that's on field. But do keep in mind that the range of these heals is actually kind of short, so you'll have to stick close to your friends or they'll be mega annoying. GG's no heals, GG no heals, GG no heals. Another huge but underrated benefit of having Xilonen is the fact that she basically frees your Kazuha. Now by now you already know that Kazuha is one of the most used and loved characters in this game, all thanks to his great synergy with a lot of different characters, and well, Xilonen works kinda like it, and getting her would more or less mean that you have 2 Kazuhas, and who wouldn't like having multiple copies of a very versatile support. Also in my experience, she's also somewhat easier to manage when it comes to energy, which makes her even more convenient in certain teams. So if you already have Kazuha, Xilonen can still be a great pickup. Also, one thing that I've noticed after years of playing Genshin is that supports tend to age a lot better than DPSs. Now you've probably already seen how some characters can easily get power crept. One patch did the hot new thing, but next year someone shows up doing twice the damage. But this doesn't really happen with supports. I mean, just look at Bennett. Man's been working since COVID and still hasn't clocked out. So if you decide to go for Xilonen now, I'm pretty sure that she'll age like fine wine from Mondstadt. And as if all this wasn't enough, let's not forget that supports are usually more useful than DPS units, because unlike DPSs, they can be used with a wider range of characters and team comps, and Xilonen is no different. Not only is she super compatible with more than half the Genshin roster, but she's also the literal best support for Maoika, the character who has the highest DPS in this entire game. And if you regularly watch my videos, chances are that you're also a Navia main. And bro, I gotta say, Xilonen is kinda cracked with her. Retiring your grandpa for that DJ is 100% worth it. Now another great thing about Xilonen is that her early constellations are amazing. Her C1 will lower your flow distance consumption, making her exploration even better, and also give some of your characters interruption resistance. And as if that was enough, her C2 might as well be one of the best ones in the game, because it can give you a 50% damage buff, 60% crit damage, more attack, or even HP depending on your team comp. She's honestly one of those rare characters that only has like OP constellations. But with that being said, you don't need them. Her C1 or C2 might look good, but if you're doing proper rotations, you won't even think of them. Also, you might have noticed a recent trend with Natlan when new units always have a weird exploration gimmick, and Xilonen has the best and most useful one of them all. Now sure, it might not be as cool or fast as Maoika's buy, but it's not as clunky either. And even though she might not be able to walk on water, she more than makes up for it with a smooth climbing ability, which comes in handy more times than you would think. In fact, I genuinely think that she's one of the best units for exploration. Also, by the way, whatever you do, never sprint during a skating mode, because that'll take you only half the distance of just walking normally. Also, to farm for Xilonen's artifacts, you're most likely going to be doing the Natlan domain, which is one of the best ones in the game. Not only does that domain give you the Obsidian Codex set, which is perfect for basically every single Natlan DPS, but it can also give you the Cinder City drops that you can use on any of your Natlan supports, because the 4P set bonus of that artifact gives you up to 40% elemental damage bonus for free, making it super useful. But what makes this domain even better is that this damage buff also lasts very long. In fact, did you know that this buff actually lasts twice as long as a VV shred? So thanks to Xilonen's versatility, she can easily enable this GOAT Cinder City set on basically everyone. But you should know that this damage bonus does not stack, so only have a single party member using the support set. But now, if for some reason you don't want to farm the best Natlan domain of all time, you could just give her the Archaic Petra set, which will make her a tiny bit harder to play, but still give you the 35% damage bonus. But I'm telling you, don't do that. Go farm the Natlan domain and you'll feel like a brand new person. Now speaking of artifacts and builds, let's also go with some of Xilonen's weapon options, because she can actually be super free to play friendly. You see, one of her best weapon options is the Favonius sword, which you probably have multiple copies of by now, and it can actually help you get the burst back with its ER main stat. But with that being said, you will have to get a bit lucky with the crit roll to proc its passive, which can be a tad bit hard. But honestly, you could just skip all that if if you decide to pull on her weapon banner because it's actually pretty amazing. Now Xilonen's signature weapon is obviously cracked on her, but even if you end up getting the other 5-star option, it'll be better than Venti himself. Another thing that I really love about Xilonen that usually goes underappreciated is her idle animations. Now you already know what happens when you go AFK for even a second. These characters start spamming their voice lines and become kinda annoying. But with Xilonen, you don't need to worry about that. She doesn't really make much noise, and when you come back, you'll have a cat DJ playing some tunes. But now let's stop the Xilonen glaze for a minute and let me quickly show you what you're here for. Xilonen's damage and build. So my Xilonen is fully raised. She has around 230 energy recharge. For the weapon, she's on the Favonius sword. For the artifact, she's on the 4-piece Syndicity set. And here are the individual artifacts real quick. Now for the constellation, she's obviously at C0 and the talents are at 688. So here's a quick showcase of my favorite Xilonen teams. But now let's go with 6 major reasons why you should not pull for Xilonen. So first off, let's start with the biggest problem with Xilonen that basically everyone forgets about, which is none other than the lack of damage output. Now considering that she's a support, this might not seem like a huge issue at first, but when you start to compare her with units like Kazuha, this lack of damage becomes pretty noticeable. Kazuha not only buffs the entire team, but he also deals consistent dual damage that really adds up over time. But Xilonen on the other hand just kind of stands there looking pretty while the rest of your teams does the heavy lifting. Also at the start of the video, I did say that she's a complete unit at C0, but that was actually kind of a lie. You see, using Xilonen as a DPS at C0 is like bringing Yoimiya to an AoE fight, and trying to play her as a DPS feels very rough, especially when you're used to playing other Natlan characters that feel 10 times more rewarding. Another thing to keep in mind with Xilonen is that she doesn't buff Animo or Dendro at all, meaning that if you're someone who mainly plays Hyperbloom teams or characters like Shao or Wanderer, she's going to be completely useless for you. And if that was enough, she also lacks synergy with some Geo and Mono element teams, so she won't bring much value there. But still, let's be honest, those teams are already pretty cracked without her, so it's not the biggest issue. But on top of all this, there's still one major Xilonen mistake that you need to avoid, or it'll make her completely useless. You see, if you already have a character rocking the Syndicity artifact set in your team, Xilonen can lose a lot of value there. So you'll need to farm a different artifact set for her, like the Archaic Petra, which can be kinda annoying. But hey, at least you don't have super demanding sub-star requirements, and plus that set can be easily crafted from the strong box, so you might just get away with a slightly scuffed build and still make her work. And now finally, let's talk about by far the biggest problem with Xilonen that you need to know before getting her, which is none other than the fact that Kazuha can, more or less, do a job. You see, Xilonen is mostly like an added bonus to your account and not a requirement. And if for some reason you already have a fully built Kazuha and don't use her much, chances are you're not going to be using Xilonen either. I mean, sure, you might want to use her where Kazuha can be useless, like in Navia teams, but even there, Xilonen can be easily substituted by other great supports like Shanyan and Zhongli. In my opinion, you should only get her if you're in need of 2 amazing supports for your DPSs, or if you just like Xilonen's dash, gameplay, or her as a character. And if you pull for these reasons, you won't regret getting her. Now if you want to watch more Xilonen content and see how she plays, click on this video right here. Also, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe because only like 7% of my viewers are actually sub to the channel. So that's it, and I'll see you soon.